Sergey Kovalev easily defeats mandatory challenger Nadjib Mohammedi with a third-round knockout. I'm sure no one was surprised by this. This is pretty much what everyone expected. Mohammedi had been stopped in one round before by Dmitry Sukotsky, who was a guy that Adonis Stevenson blew away a few fights back. Mohammedi also lost to Nathan Cleverly. He's not a big puncher, not a very big light heavyweight. He was really going to pose no threat for Kovalev. And after the fight, Kovalev said that it felt like a sparring session in there. And that's what it looked like. It looked like Kovalev could take him out whenever he wanted. He was fairly patient early on, let some hard shots go in the second round. Mohammedi went down. Third round, hurting him again, dropped him for a second time. Mohammedi was holding his eye as if he'd been thumbed when he was on the ground. But I think he just realized that it was an impossible task. You know, Mohammedi tried to use his awkward head movement and a lot of lateral movement with his feet moving out of the ring, trying to stay out of range. But being the smaller guy, because they were both supposed to be the same height with the same arm length, but it certainly didn't look like that in the ring. Kovalev looked significantly taller with longer arms. And Mohammedi was, I guess, fairly quick with his hands and feet, but too awkward, too, his technique wasn't good enough. That's the words I'm looking for. It wasn't good enough technically and just didn't have anything to threaten Kovalev with at all. Didn't have the skills to bother him, didn't have the power to bother him, nothing. Little bit of speed, little bit of awkwardness, but Kovalev managed to get to grips with that very early on and took him out the fight. So onwards for Sergey Kovalev. Hopefully his next fight will be against someone more challenging than Mohammedi. I don't want to see the Pascal rematch. I know some people don't mind that fight, but I'd rather he go in a different direction. I'd rather actually he fought the guy that Pascal just beat, allegedly beat, because me and I'm sure many other people felt Pascal lost the fight, and that was Gonzalez. I forget his first name now. That was actually the first time I've watched the guy tonight. And this Gonzalez character, I think him against Kovalev would be a more interesting fight than Pascal Kovalev. I would definitely make Kovalev the favorite to beat Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a very rudimentary fighter, but he's very strong, and he might be able to give Kovalev issues with his jab because he's got a very, very long, strong jab. And that might be able to be effective against Kovalev. But Kovalev's moves better than Gonzalez and whatnot, better boxer. But just the size of him and the strength, it would be something a bit different that Kovalev hasn't faced yet. So I'd rather see the Gonzalez fight. In terms of some of the bigger names, it doesn't look like the Stevenson fight's going to happen for now because Kathy Duva, for whatever reason, says that she's not going to fight. She's not going to have Kovalev fight Stevenson over on PBC or on a Showtime card, because that's what would have happened had she gone through with the purse bid between Kovalev and Stevenson. It was a purse bid, and undoubtedly Kathy Duva in main events being much less rich, much less powerful in terms of money than the Al Heyman outfits, they probably would have lost that purse bid, and they pulled out because they claim, or Kathy Duva claims, that if they were forced to fight on a different network other than HBO, that it would cause problems with HBO's contract. Personally, I question that. I do question that, because those kind of fights happen all the time, and the fighters almost never get in trouble with their particular TV company if they lose a purse bid and they have to fight on a different network. As long as that network is sufficiently compensated, they usually don't mind. Obviously, they would prefer to have the fight on their network, but if they're sufficiently compensated, I don't think they would mind. And I'm sure Al Heyman would be willing to compensate them to whatever sum they want, because Sergey Kovalev against Adonis Stevenson will be a huge fight. So that don't seem like it can happen for whatever reason at the moment. The Kovalev people say it's not a good situation for them to go into that purse bid and potentially lose. So you've got Andre Ward, who is on HBO, who commentates for HBO, who's trying to come back, who says that he's more willing to stay at 168, who's been talking about a possible Golovkin fight. Golovkin says that he wants to fight at a catch weight and he wants a 50-50 split. And in fact, I'm sure I've heard, well, actually, no, I haven't heard Ward say he would take Kovalev at a catch weight, but I've heard Kovalev say there'll be no catch weight if he does fight Ward. And Ward's obviously saying there's going to be no catch weight if he fights Golovkin. So you've got a weird situation where Golovkin won't go up to 168 to fight Ward. He wants a catch weight. And Ward won't go up to 175 to fight Kovalev. And Kovalev rules out a catch weight completely. So, you know, awkward situation there as well. And actually on the middleweight news, you've got Golovkin just announced he's going to be fighting David Lemieux, or their teams have announced that fight's going to happen later on in the year, which is, I guess, a fun fight, but it's a fight I expect Golovkin to win fairly easily. So, but yeah, getting back to Kovalev, not really that many challenges out there for him. If the Stevenson fight can't be made, if the Ward fight can't be made, who else is there out there for him? Gonzalez, maybe a rematch with Pascal. The only thing I can think is maybe if Beterbiev fights Stevenson, which is a fight I think will happen. I think that fight's going to happen sooner than people realize, of Beterbiev-Stevenson. Then maybe we might see a Beterbiev-Kovalev big-time unification if Beterbiev is the one to come through that fight. We might see a unification, even though Beterbiev's now an Al Haymon fighter as well. The fight will be so big, you know, the two amateur rivals, two Russian guys. It would be so big, it would be so huge. I can't see how that fight wouldn't happen, especially with the history and everything like that. The networks would have to come together and do something about it. You know, HBO and Showtime, PBC, Al Haymon, whatever. They'd have to do something about it. They managed to do it with Pacquiao Mayweather. I know that's obviously a much bigger fight than Kovalev Beterbiev would ever be. But nonetheless, it's still a big fight, and it still would make sense. And it was a fight that, it would be a fight that both networks could easily sell. So, yeah. Drop your comments below, people. I'm just rambling on here about all types of random things around the light heavyweight division. So, yeah, let me know how you feel about Kovalev's performance and his future. It's happening. I'm out.